Top 10 players in the National Lacrosse League. Now, before I get to my list, I want to make this very clear. I did not have goalies. These were my top 10 runners. And running. Let's do it. My number 10 player in the National Lacrosse League is going to be Joe Resetarit's Philadelphia Wings. He had 41 goals last season, 80 assists, and 66 loose balls. And in my opinion, Resetarit, I feel like I could have put Mitch Jones or Curtis Dixon in this spot, but I went with the guy who had the less turnovers and the guy who was still shooting at a good clip. And again, 41 goals. When you hit the 40 and up mark, it's kind of hard to leave you out of the top 10, even though guys like, what is it? I think for the record, Chris Boucher, like players who scored 40 that are not on my top 10, Chris Boucher, Josh Dowick, Keegan Ball's not on my list either, and neither is Curtis Dixon. I don't think, okay, there's more than I thought, but whatever. 41 goals also helped Joe Rez out, okay? Number 9 runner in the NLL for me, Ian McKay. Now, Ian McKay does get the Finals MVP nod. Ian McKay also gets the nod of how much better will he be even this season. Ian McKay last year in the regular season, 37 goals, 17 assists, 94 loose balls, 12 caused turnovers. He was a Swiss Army knife for Buffalo, kind of like a poor man's Zach Currier. But we'll see how he scored more than Zach Currier, to be fair. But I'm interested to see the leap that Ian McKay takes this season, knowing what we know about Buffalo now. Number 8 for me is going to be Lyle Thompson of the Georgia Swarm. Lyle Thompson, 42 goals last year. I do not like that Lyle had 51 assists and 58 turnovers. I don't like that at all. I actually took Curtis Dixon off the list because of similar assist numbers. But I do like 112 loose balls. I also love 11 caused turnovers. And again, I know 11 is not like a huge number, but I think that Lyle Thompson is a good enough of a two-way player that I can justify having him at this number 8 spot. But again, the time in the league for him is also coming. I know, again, a guy who scored 42 goals last year, he's just not as dominant as he used to be, but I do think he's still a top 10 player. Number 7 for me, Jake Withers. Talk about a guy who might do more than Zach Currier. And again, I'm putting that lightly. But Jake Withers, only had 5 goals, 16 assists, but 227 loose balls. You're like, well, a lot of that is faceoffs. That might be true. But Jake Withers, not only was he picking it up off the faceoff, he also stays a lot on defense. And that is why he had 21 caused turnovers and 16 blocked shots, along with the 299 faceoff wins. So those defensive numbers are more important to me than loose balls that, again, might be inflated probably from his faceoff wins. But this guy is still electric. Number 6 for me, this guy, so close, and I mean so close to my top 5. You will see my top 5 and why I ultimately left Zach Currier off. But Zach Currier last season alone had 18 goals, 29 assists, 193 loose balls. He took no faceoffs, by the way. 5. 32 caused turnovers and 11 blocked shots. Zach Currier does everything for the team that he's on, and I mean everything. Can you imagine if Zach Currier was allowed to play offense? I mean, unbelievable. There's my 10 through 6, and now my top 5 runners in the NLL. There it is. Again, I think you can make an argument for Zach Currier over Wesley Berg. Wesley Berg, though, the clutch factor was a big one for me. He had 49 goals, and he also had 82 loose balls. Now, my problem with Zach Currier, with Wesley Berg, was only 39 assists because he also had 44 turnovers. And if I'm being fair, if I'm going to criticize Jeff T in the past for that, if you're going to have not many assists, you better not have many turnovers. And unfortunately, when they outweigh each other, that's why Zach Currier above Wesley Berg could be an argument that I can have. And who knows, in 2 days, I might feel Zach Currier's a top 5 player. I went to Wesley Berg because in a year where I thought Wesley Berg would have less than 40 goals, he almost had 50. So that's the Wesley Berg effect. Number 4 for me, a guy who I've said from day one on this show, I did not feel was the best player. He's still top 5, Jeff Teat. Jeff Teat had 56 goals last year. He also had 107 loose balls. And again, 56 assists with 79 turnovers. That's not good. Again, if Jeff Teat's going to have a down year in terms of assists, you can't have that many turnovers. And again, I know he scored 56 goals and had the 100 loose balls. That's why he's at number 4. But Jeff Teat, you got to be more physical, man. I know I don't play the game. I'm telling you what I see, though. If you are going to take any advice from me, you got to toughen up because he is so talented with the stick skills. Sometimes the NLL can push him around. And those numbers, the facts that I'm reading you, 79 turnovers is 23 more than his assists. That's a not good look. Again, his turnovers have been going down, but it's almost like he stopped passing the ball as much. I don't get it. So Jeff T, come on, man. You got to toughen up. Still a top 5 player. I don't know what toughen up actually means. Number 3, Josh Byrne. I do think Josh Byrne could make an argument for number 1 if he was off of Dane Smith's team. We'll never know. We will never know. Josh Byrne had 44 goals and 90 assists. More goals than Dane and the second most assists in the league. That's nuts. He also only had 61 turnovers. Again, I know Jeff T does not have a Dane Smith. That's the cards you're dealt, bro. I do think that context matters, but Josh Byrne does enough for me to push him over Jeff T. I would love to see Josh Byrne with his own team. I also don't mind the dynamic duo between him and Dane Smith. It is what it is. It's like pick your poison. Josh, obviously in Buffalo, is a great thing. I think his aura helps me out a little bit. I'm kidding, but he is a good-looking dude. That's why, it's so hard to leave Josh Byrne off of Fresh Fits, man. Whew. Getting sweaty here just think. I'm kidding. It's still a lot. I'll be honest, folks. This on top 2 spots. I was finalizing this list about 10 minutes before the show started. And I would be lying to you if it did not scratch my brain to put Connor Fields at number 1. And it's not just a feeling. Let's look at these numbers, okay? Connor Fields, last season, 46 goals. Dane Smith had 32. And I thought last year Dane Smith's shot would start falling. He's still on a shooting slump. I know, 32 goals. But to me, Dane Smith, the last 2 regular seasons, has not shot the ball like I think Dane Smith can. Connor Fields only had 57 turnovers. Dane Smith had 72. But Dane had 102 assists, which is 25 more than Connor's 77 dimes. Now, Connor did have more loose balls, but I think 148 to 116 is kind of like nothing. And I think Dane Smith is still the better 2-way player. But folks, I'm going to be honest. I've always thought Connor Fields was a really awesome player. Seeing him last year, for the first time last year, I thought Connor Fields really opened up his defensive 2-way game. And I've said for at least a year on this show, I think the future NLL athlete is a 2-way player who's a menace on offense and on defense can play and be really good on defense. Not all the time, but I think that's the best players in the NLL. And again, scoring 46 goals and then getting back there and, back, like, was it called back checking or whatever, when you try to swipe the ball from the offensive player, the trail check, I think is what it's called. I'm sorry about that. But it's like, hey, again, Dane played more shifts on defense, but Connor definitely started to open that bag up. But Dane still takes the number one spot. It also helps he's a 3-time in a row champion. But I think this year Connor Fields will threaten for that number one spot. And there's a good chance he wins MVP, even though I have not told you guys my predictions on that yet.